Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about a surprising truth when it comes to leadership. Your biggest impact? It probably doesn't happen in the corner office. Nope, it happens in the hallways. We're going to break down how just being present, strategically present, can literally transform an entire organization. All right, let's kick this off with a pretty big question. I want you to think about a leader you really admire, someone who's super effective. Where are they, physically, when they're having the most impact? Where does their influence really shine? So, if your first thought was someone sitting behind a huge desk, totally buried in paperwork and emails, well, you're not alone. That's the classic image, right? But the research we're digging into today, it says that's a pretty outdated picture. The real magic, the real leadership, it happens somewhere else entirely. Okay, so let's just go ahead and tear down that old idea. We're diving into Section 1, the office-bound leader myth. It is high time we rethink where leadership actually lives and breathes. Yeah, this quote right here, it just nails it. Leadership isn't about being an admin, right? It's an active, hands-on practice. The best leaders out there today, they get that their influence isn't trapped inside four walls. No way. It's built piece by piece through intentional, visible engagement with their people. So if the office isn't the main stage, then what is? Well, that brings us to this really powerful idea called strategic presence. And listen, the key word here is intention. This is not about just wandering around the building so people see you. That's not it at all. Strategic visibility is a deliberate act. It's about showing up in the right places, at the right times, and with a really clear purpose: to connect, to observe, and to support. And what's so cool is that this creates this amazing ripple effect. When a leader is consistently visible, it kicks off what the source material calls the presence multiplier effect. Suddenly, people feel more supported, accountability goes up, and the whole culture starts to shift for the better. And get this, it even affects people who didn't directly talk to the leader that day. It's that powerful. All right, theory is great, but let's get practical. How do you actually do this stuff? That brings us to the visibility playbook. Let's see how this whole concept turns into a daily practice. So, the research points to four key arenas, four main places where leaders can really practice this strategic visibility. We're talking about the entrance, the hallways, the main workspaces, and yeah, even the social spaces. Let's break them all down. It all starts right at the front door. Seriously, being there when your team walks in for the day, that's not just a nice little thing to do. It's a strategic move. Your presence literally sets the tone for the entire day. It gives you a chance for those quick, informal check-ins. It shows you're accessible, and it sends a message to everyone, your team, your visitors, that leadership is engaged from minute one. Next up, the hallways, or corridors, whatever you call them. I want you to stop thinking of them as just pathways from point A to point B. They are huge opportunities for connection. The source material even suggests using a 2-minute rule for these quick but meaningful interactions. So instead of just a, hey, how's it going? You ask a real open-ended question, or you acknowledge some great work you just saw. And just like that, a simple walk down the hall becomes an active leadership moment. Okay, now let's talk about the main workspaces, the classrooms, the open plan office, wherever the real work gets done. The absolute key here is to switch your mindset. You're not there as an evaluator. You're there as a supporter. So forget those formal, scheduled visits that make everyone nervous. Think quick. 3 to 5 minute drop-ins. The goal is to be a learning partner. You're there to focus on engagement and build trust, not to create a bunch of anxiety. Big difference. And finally, please do not underestimate the social spaces, the break room, the lunch area, wherever people grab a coffee. These places are absolute gold mines for a leader. It's where you can really observe team dynamics and build genuine relationships. You can join different conversations, see how people are really doing, and maybe even spot someone who needs a little extra support. Plus, it's the perfect place to model the kind of inclusive, positive behavior you want to see everywhere else, all in a really relaxed, low-stakes setting. Okay, so what actually happens when a leader does this stuff day in and day out? What's the real payoff? Well, that brings us right back to that leadership ripple effect we talked about. And we're not talking about small, minor tweaks here. When you consistently practice strategic visibility, it leads to a fundamental shift in the culture. I mean, it changes everything. How people feel when they come to work, how they interact with each other, even how they see their own role in the big picture. You see the impact first with the team members, They start to feel way more comfortable coming up to leadership. You'll actually see more engagement, more positive behavior, and this genuine sense of pride in their community.
And why? It's all because they feel seen and they feel supported.
And that confidence, it doesn't stop there. It spreads through the entire staff. When a leader is accessible and not, locked away in some ivory tower, it just naturally leads to more informal professional chats. People are suddenly much more willing to share both their challenges and their wins. And that's what builds real collaboration and that feeling that you're all on one team.
Then that positive energy starts to radiate outward. It's pretty amazing. The whole community, we're talking parents, partners, clients, they notice the change. You start getting more positive feedback, attendance at events goes up, and partnerships get stronger. Your organization's entire reputation gets a boost. And it all stems from that one simple decision to be strategically present.
So the big question is, how do you make this real for you? Let's jump into our final section and talk about leading from where you are right now. Look, the only way this works is if you turn this whole philosophy into a habit. The source material is really smart about this. It suggests you create a personal visibility plan. That way, it doesn't just get left to chance. You literally map out your daily commitments, like being at the entrance in the morning, and your weekly goals, like making sure you visit different departments. It's a simple act of planning, but it's what turns this big, lofty idea into something you can actually do. Let's kind of wrap up with this really powerful summary. This whole approach, it all boils down to a shift in your mindset. It's about moving away from just passive management and stepping into active, purposeful leadership. It's truly understanding that your presence, when you use it with intention, is one of the most powerful tools you have in your entire toolkit. And that really leaves us with one final thought, a question for you to take with you. This whole principle, it's not just for CEOs in fancy offices. It applies to any organization, any team, even any family. So I want you to really think about it. Where is your presence needed most? What hallway in your world do you need to start walking down with purpose?